to Lydia, and today I'll be sharing with you how I've created this card using the Watercolour Wonders set from Altenew. I've used a loose watercolour technique to create this beautiful looking floral card. So I'm going to be using this set from Altenew called Watercolour Wonders, and what I've done firstly is I've taped a piece of watercolour card to a board so I can move it around, and then I've taken some of the larger images from the set, the full images, and I've placed these onto my piece of cardstock where I think they're going to be. So for this technique, all I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up my stamp. I'm using Distress ink in peeled paint first. I've inked my stamp up and then I'm going to stamp it off before I stamp it onto my card. There we go. And then I'm going to do the same with the other set of leaves and the stalks. Once I've stamped my leaves, I'm then going to stamp the flowers in the same method, inking the stamp up, stamping it once onto some scratch paper, and then placing it onto my watercolour card. The ink that I'm using is Picked Raspberry from Distress Ink. As you can see, I forgot to stamp this one off before stamping it, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. It's just going to make this flower darker than the others. So what I'm going to do now is, now I've got these first layers down, is I'm going to just take some water and I'm going to ink all of these flowers up just with some more. I'm just going over the lines, just over the full image, and I'm going to do that with all of the 3 flowers. Now that I've added water to the flowers, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add in some different shades of colour. So I have some purple. So this is Seedless Preserves, and I'm just going to dab it in to my flowers. I'm going to do the same on this one. Take some of the colour. This will give it a more mottled watercolour effect. I'm just going to add in some red as well. The colour will only move where you've added the water on the flower, so it won't bleed across the lines. Once I've done the flowers, I'm going to do the same with the leaves, so I'm just adding water onto the ink. If the ink looked a bit blotchy when you put it on, this will smooth it out and give you a much more smooth blended finish. Once I've got to this stage, I'm going to let it dry and then I'm going to come back to it to add the second layer of detail. So what I've done next is I've taken the second layers for the images, and using this cheat sheet on the back of the stamp pack, I've just added them onto my flowers where they're going to be. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to stamp these, but I'm going to stamp them in a darker colour than the last one. So I'm going to be using the red for this one here. This is the Festive Berries from Distress Ink, and I'm just going to stamp these on to the layers. Oops, I should have stamped that off again, but as that's on the flower that I didn't stamp properly in the first place, I'm not going to worry too much about that one. So I'm going to do the same as before, and I'm going to just go over the bits that I've just stamped. And then I'm going to add in some more purple into this red. This will tone the red down, but we also want this layer to be darker than the one underneath. Same again here, I'm just going over the inked areas. You could add some more in if you so wished at this stage, if you wanted to. I'm just going to add, because I know there's not another layer for this flower, I'm just going to add a bit of more around this side here. I'm going to do the same technique for the leaves. I'm just going to add in with my own brush. So I'm just adding some green to my board, which is mowed lawn, and also some more peeled paint. And just add in roughly some shadow on these leaves. The fun thing about stamps is that you don't have to use them exactly as they are made. You can play around with them. So once my piece was dry, what I did is I took it off the board and I ran it through my laminator to make it as flat as possible again. It was a bit warped as I'd used my heat tool to speed dry the flowers because I was a bit impatient, but the laminator makes it so flat again, so it doesn't really matter. I've then added some funky foam to the back with some super sticky tape, and I'm just going to be adding this straight onto my card blank. Add a sentiment using Altenew Magnolias for Her, and I'm going to take a piece of thread and I'm just going to mess it up a little and then place that. I'm going to be placing my sentiment over this flower the most, as I'm not completely happy with it. So much for watching today. I really hope you've enjoyed this technique of making a really loose watercolour effect with the Watercolour Wonders from Altenew. Thank you so much for watching and have a beautiful day.